Hey everyone, welcome to the next episode of Turnover on Downs. I'm your host, Jake Dom, and joining me as he does every episode is my friend Kyle. How you doing today, Kyle?
I can't complain. Another day, another dollar. What's going on?
Oh, it's going pretty good. So I don't know how you felt about that week of football. I felt like it was a little bit of a lackluster of a week. I just feel like there's not a lot of narratives coming out this past week. I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you there. There was, I don't know, kind of a lot of games that we expected to, the outcome on it. I guess a couple of, upsets and things like that, and a couple surprises, but it was kind of just kind of followed the narrative the rest of the season, in my opinion.
Yeah, overall, Rams are really good. Kansas City's really good. All these teams are bad. I just feel like the narratives haven't changed in a minute, so hopefully that does change next week. But let's just get right into this. I do want to hop things off with performance of the week. Speaking of the Rams, my performance of the week this week is going to go to Aaron Donald. So this is the first defensive player we will be taking for performance of the week. But I just think his performance really jumped off the board with me. He had 8 tackles, 4 sacks, and a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery, and a 39-10 win over the 49ers. So, their defense played really well. I know the 49ers is a pretty lackluster offense, but overall, he really led that defense. I know they have a couple injuries across the board, and if he's playing that well, the Rams are only going to be a tougher team to beat.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely agree with you there. That was definitely a solid pick for the first defensive player on our weekly show here. I kind of went on the other side of the ball, kind of showing my true colors here, but I went with Kerryon Johnson, the rookie running back for the Lions. He had 158 rushing yards. I think he had somewhere in 180 range, with his a couple of passes that he caught. 8.2 average a run, which is pretty crazy. No touchdowns, unfortunately, but they had LeGarrette Blount kind of pounding him in at the 1 and 2 yard lines, so that's why I didn't get those TDs there. But pretty incredible rushing performance out of him. Like to see more of him going forward, obviously.
Yeah, well, let's just hop right into that game. I know that me and you both did take the Lions to win last week, and they go into Miami. They end up pulling it out 32-21. And as you mentioned, Kerryon Johnson, absolute monster in the running game. Not to mention the 50 yards added from Blount, too. We actually outrushed Miami 248-107, and that was a big reason why we won. Kerryon Johnson and Blount are just adding this element to this offense that we never had before. And Stafford was super efficient all game. It just makes his life a lot easier. And, even as our defensive-wise, making them go on the field with less and making them have more energy as the game goes on.
Oh, yeah, for sure. That running game cannot be really understated about how important that is to really just kind of an all-around balanced football team. All the good teams, have at least, a viable option in the run game. So glad that we finally got one of those. It seems like we're kind of getting our momentum right in the best part of the season for it. 2 wins in a row now. Obviously had the bye last week, and then the tough loss to the Cowboys, and then the week before that we beat the Patriots. So good stretch of games here. Looking forward to what we get in the coming weeks.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, let's just move on over to another AFC East versus NFC North matchup. Tom Brady went in Chicago, ended up pulling that game out 38-31. What do you think of Tom Brady's and the Pats' performance?
If I'm being honest, I think the Bears kind of outplayed them in that game. The Patriots got, you want to call it luck, but at the same time, when it's the Patriots always being lucky, you got to attribute that to, coaching and just the team in general. But they caught a couple of breaks there, I guess you could say. Tom Brady had a really good performance, 3 TDs to only that 1 interception. Played really well all game. Not a whole lot of help out of the running game, and then the defense didn't really do a whole lot against the Bears and Mitch Trubisky, but all around pretty solid performance out of them.
Yeah, I could definitely see why you would think the Bears did outplay the Pats. I do have to disagree with that, though. Trubisky did end up having 330 passing yards, but 50 of those did come at the Hail Mary at the end. That was just a plea, not to mention them fighting back, just getting a lot of garbage yards. And he went 26 for 50. I just think that he's obviously the big problem that Bears offense going forward. He really needs to step it up if they do want to contend the way that people thought they were at the beginning of the season, because 26 for 50 just ain't going to cut it. He did throw for 2 touchdowns. I mean, he did have 80 yards running. He had that amazing run where he ran. It was only about a 10-yard run, but he ran like 70 yards around the field or something like that, and that was amazing. But, I just feel like without Trubisky really improving their game, Chicago is just going to be one of those teams that struggle going forward. All right, so let's just go right on. We're going to Cincinnati, traveling to Kansas City, and getting demolished, to say the very least. What did you think about this? Another great performance out of this Kansas City Chiefs team.
It's really getting harder and harder to dog on Kansas City. They're showing, week after week that they're obviously one of the best teams in the league. Their only loss coming to a really good Patriots team in New England. So I thought Cincinnati was a pretty good team, and this kind of showed me that they're more pretenders than they are contenders. Great offensive game out of really everybody on Kansas City's side, and then surprisingly they had a really good game on defense. It's pretty impressive that you hold Andy Dalton and A.J. Green and Mixon to only 10 points on the entire game, so all-around solid performance by them.
Oh, yeah, for sure. I definitely want to give a little shout to Kareem Hunt. Helped me win a big fantasy game this week. But he did have 15 rushes for 86 yards and a TD, not to mention the 55 yards receiving plus 2 TDs there. So 3 TDs in total. He did play pretty well. And then Hill kept, he's making an argument that he's a top 5 receiver in this game. He's just so fast. And he did rack up about 70 yards and had another touchdown to his great year already. And A.J. Green did have a nice game on the other side of the ball. He did catch 7 times for 117 yards. But at the end of the day, that Kansas City Chiefs offense is just too lethal. Teams really compete with them.
Yeah, definitely agree with you there. There's maybe 3 or 4 teams that I think can actually compete for an entire 4 quarters with them offensively.
Well, let's go on to a game that was definitely a little closer. I want to talk about the Carolina at Philadelphia Eagles. I know I took Carolina in this game, and I know you took Philly. It was definitely a toss-up pick. I went back and forth on that one quite a while. But Carolina did pull this game out 21-17. What did you think of Philly's performance?
Well, it finally looked like Philly kind of, snapped back off of their Super Bowl hangover. They were up 17-0. After a really big win over the Giants last week, but then I don't know what happened in that fourth quarter, but everything kind of fell apart on them. Cam Newton came to life, and kind of the rest is history. They scored 3 unanswered touchdowns and kind of pulled the rabbit out of their hat on that one.
Yeah, going forward, if Philly cannot fix this defense, they're going to have a lot of issues. And the NFC, they're obviously still in it with the NFC East. I don't even know if you could tell me even the Giants may come out at the end, and I would believe you just because that's such a weird division right now. But Philly definitely has time to get their act together. But if they do not fix this defense, just letting 21 points in the fourth quarter is just unexcusable. They definitely got to fix their running game. I'm really surprised we're not hearing more of them being in the play for some of these running backs. I know Howard's been made available. Lions are trying to trade Abdullah, and obviously the whole Le'Veon Bell situation. So I don't know why they're not trying to go out and get another running back, because I think that would really help them, their offense, and their defense.
Yeah, for sure. That running game after J.J. went out, it's really suffering. I think they only had 58 yards on the ground this week. So, that's definitely one of their sore spots in the team.
Well, let's talk about probably, my opinion, the best game of the week. New Orleans went down to Baltimore and somehow squeaked out that victory. Justin Tucker, Mr. Dependable, has made over 200 extra points in a row. Really missed one at a inconvenient time. Baltimore drove down, and they get it within a point, and, he just can't seal the deal. But overall, I thought this game was pretty good. Drew Brees was pretty efficient, 22 for 30, 212 yards with 2 TDs. not to mention Kamara and Thomas just adding to that offense. And then Flacco played pretty well on the other side of the ball, but just wasn't enough to beat this great New Orleans offense. And I really am a big believer in Baltimore's defense. To only hold this offense to about 350? Yeah, it was about less than 350 yards. Is pretty incredible, with just all these high power weapons that they do have.
Yeah, for sure. I'd say that I think we talked about it quite a bit last week. The best defense against arguably one of the best offenses, and it really kind of went down how we expected it to. A lot of defense early on in the game, and then that fourth quarter, New Orleans kind of picked it up, and they came back and ended up on top. Showcased their talents on both sides of the ball.
Nope, so for sure. So yeah, I wound up going 5-0 in my picks. Kyle went 4-1. So hopefully we can continue that success this week with our picks. So we're gonna get right into those. I first want to start off with Green Bay at LA Rams. I know that you said you had a pretty big bold prediction. I do as well. Do you want to go tell everyone what yours is?
I'll go ahead and go first. I think a little bit of foreshadowing, but I think our opinions are a little bit different this week. My bold prediction was that the Rams are actually going to beat Green Bay by at least 14 points. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Obviously, not anything really against the Packers. I think they're a great team, but this Rams team at home, I just think they're going to stick it to Aaron Rodgers.
Oh yeah, that's definitely a fair choice. Like I said earlier, this Rams team, they're undefeated, arguably the best team in the NFL. But my bold prediction is I think Aaron Rodgers is going to go in there and make a statement and give Rams their first loss of the season at home. A lot of times, this is when those undefeated teams really stop putting their foot down to the pedal. And I know Packers need a win, and all those young receivers, they're getting better every week with Aaron Rodgers. So I just think this might be the week that it all comes together. And definitely not going to be an easy victory for him at all. But I think I would take Green Bay, something around 27-24. But let's
go. That's a fair pick. I could definitely. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, you're good. So let's go into the next game. We have another NFC North team, our Lions, all right? So the Seahawks are traveling to the Lions. And Seahawks have been a pretty streaky team this year, and so have we. So it's kind of a tough one to call. Me personally, I think I'm going to take the Lions in this game. I think that our running game has just been improving every week, and our defense has looked better in the last couple weeks. So I think overall, we're going to do a good enough job stopping Russell Wilson that offense, and our defense is going to barely be able to squeak this one out for us.
That's a good call. I'm definitely going to agree with you there. I think the two teams that didn't really have huge expectations for the season. Obviously, with Seattle, all their injuries and losing all their players and things. But I think they're two kind of the more surprising teams where they've done pretty well up to this point, both 3-3. But yeah, I'm going with the Lions as well. I'll actually be at that game this Sunday. Pretty excited. Really hope they'll get a win, just because I'll be there. But
oh yeah, for sure. Where are your seats located?
The seats are in the upper bowl, around the 30-yard line.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. I mean, I would kill just to go to the game. So yeah, hopefully we can go get that win for you. But let's go to the third. We did choose 3 NFC North games this week. Let's go to that third one we have. New Orleans is traveling to Minnesota. They're going to go play in that hard place to play down there. Who do you got in this game?
This is a really tough one for me. I kind of went back and forth. I think Minnesota's a really good team, but for the second straight week, I'm going to go with the Saints on the road. I think they're going to come in there, and it'll be a close one. I think Kirk Cousins and Adam Thielen are going to put up a big game against the New Orleans, pretty subpar defense. But in the end, I think the Drew Brees is going to pull that one off.
Oh, yeah, that's definitely a good pick. I'm going to have to agree with you there. It's really hard to bet against Drew Brees in this offense, especially when they're clicking. They just got Eli Apple too, so hopefully that does sure up their secondary a little bit and help against these really good Vikings receivers. That is going to be a big issue for the New Orleans if they can slow down Adam Thielen, Stephon Diggs, not to mention Kyle Rudolph. And I think Delvin Cook is expected to be back this week as well, so that'll be a big help for the Vikings. But let's go to the London game this week. Philly is going at Jags, but they are in London this week. I think I'm going to take the Jags in this game to actually bounce back and get a win. It was announced that Blake Bortles would be the starter for this week in London, so I think the Jags defense is going to do enough, and I think Philly's going to be a little rattled off that Carolina loss, and I think they're going to go take another loss, and Jaguars are going to barely pull this one out.
I'd say that's a pretty fair prediction. Obviously, we had really high hopes for the Jags coming into the season, and they started off. They looked pretty well, beating the Pats and things. But the last couple of weeks, now getting pretty much dominated by the Texans, and then the week before dominated against the Cowboys. My prediction was going with Philly. I think that they're gonna, kind of bounce back after that tough loss last week. I think Carson Wentz will kind of tear apart the Jacksonville defense that really hasn't played up to their standards. And I think their defense is going to do not a whole lot, but enough to keep Blake Bortles from pulling the victory out there.
Oh, it's definitely a fair opinion. I mean, Blake Bortles' experiment is just something else. I don't know what to make of it. Their team's just so good everywhere else. So hopefully that's a good one. Let's go to the last game we want to talk about today is Baltimore at Carolina. So both these teams, the one team barely squeaked out a win, while the other one kind of let a win, like at least good overtime berth slip out of their fingers. So I think both these teams are going to be kind of in a weird state of mind going to this game. But I think I am going to take Carolina to keep on rolling. I just don't think the Baltimore's offense is going to be good enough against this, Luke Kuechly, Davis is back. And that offense finally started clicking, it seemed like, for the Panthers, with Greg Olsen finally coming back into form. And Funchess has really shown himself as a decent option this year. So I think they're going to keep rolling and win another one, and Baltimore is going to take another L.
Definitely some fair points there. I'm going to go ahead and disagree with you again. I'm going to go with Baltimore, even though they are on the road. I think that defense is going to be too much for Cam Newton. I think Carolina's been a very streaky team this year. They've lost, or they've beaten some good teams, but they've also lost to some pretty, below average teams. So I think the defense and then Joe Flacco is going to do just enough to eke out a win on the road there. But I could definitely see that game going either way.
Well, regardless of who wins and who loses, hopefully we get to watch some good football. Hopefully the Lions can go get another win. And hopefully, especially since you're going with a game, so that'd be great. But I think that's all we have for you guys today. We will be back next week with another episode. Thank you guys so much for listening.